Hello, everyone. Demetra Newsom of Casey's Corner back again for part two of Strengths Finders. In our first video, we were talking about our children and how they have gifts that the Lord has placed on the inside of them, and our part in terms of nurturing those gifts and really identifying and appreciating those gifts rather than defining deficits as the world might do, with seeing some of their gifts as deficits versus us really nurturing them and identifying and appreciating those gifts that God has placed on the inside of them. So in this video, we're going to talk about showing our children how their gift is a God gift. And we know this is important because oftentimes the world will give them a skewed view of their gift. And it's important that we show them who they are through God's eyes versus them seeing only this distorted view that the world gives them. So I'll give you a quick example. I really enjoy watching movies, and I like to watch movies with my daughter as well. However, that is typically a challenge because if you are familiar with any children's movies, a lot of times that first scene, somewhere during that first scene, the main character of the story, something happens to them, whether they get injured or someone, something happens to a member of their family, whatever it is, something happens to the main character in that first scene. And typically after that scene, we cannot watch anymore. Like my daughter is pretty much telling us, turn it off. I don't want to see it anymore. So this happened in A Bug's Life. I really thought she would like A Bug's Life. And if you know the, main character in that story, I think it's Flick. The whole colony is collecting all this food for the grasshoppers to come take from them, unfortunately. And Flick does something and all the food disappears. Like all the food that they had gathered, it gets knocked off of, some kind of container and it falls. And so now they don't have all the food for the grasshoppers to come gather and take away. And so everybody in the colony is upset with him. I mean, they are being very mean to him. And my daughter has had it at that point. She doesn't want to see anymore. She's upset that, everyone is mad at him and being mean to him. And it just spoke to me, because this has happened with several movies, it spoke to me about the part of her character and her personality where she is very compassionate. And it allowed me to see her gift, in practice, if you will. So I could say, from maybe the world's point of view, I could say she's very sensitive or she's even too sensitive, right? But instead, I can recognize and acknowledge her God gift of compassion, and that she has compassion for people, even compassion for the little animated characters in this movie, so much so that she doesn't want to watch it anymore. And we can, continue to nurture that just by saying things like, I see God in you when, and fill in the blank. And so I had an opportunity to do this with my daughter. Maybe one day last week, she was telling me about, a group of friends she was playing with at one time, and a few of them were not being so nice to her anymore. So she chose to, not play with them, sometimes even play by herself if she had to. But she noticed the same thing happen with another young lady at one of her peers, and the young girl was crying and sitting by herself. And so she said, well, Mommy, I went over to her. I sat with her. I told her it was going to be okay. I asked her if she wanted to play together. And so they've been playing together ever since. And so when she first told me the story, my first inclination was, I'm so proud of you, and that's what I wanted to say. But I paused for a moment because I also realized this was an opportunity to share with her and to show her God gift, right? So rather than starting out saying, I'm so proud of you, I chose in that moment to say, I see God in you when you went to your peer and you comforted her, you told her things were going to be okay. You even, she said she kind of patted her back, and then you started playing with her and made a new friend who you've been playing with, ever since. And so it was important for me in that moment to make sure that she recognized that God gift of compassion at work in her life in that moment, and also so that she wouldn't credit herself for being able to do that, because we know, and this is that opportunity to tie back to scripture. We know that it's God at work in us, giving us the desire and the power to do what pleases him. And so I wanted her to also recognize the God gift in her of compassion that she showed in that moment, and also to give credit where credit is due. God placed that gift on the inside of you. God allowed you to be able to express that kind of compassion to that young lady, your peer, and now make a friend as well as be a friend. And so that was really amazing to see. And I know that or my prayer is that that's something that continues to stick with her, so she continues to recognize the God gift on the inside of her, in this case, specifically compassion. But my prayer is that for all of our children, that they see those God gifts inside of them, and that we help them by telling them how we see God in them. I pray that something that was said resonated with you, and that you're able to share this with your children or any children you're in contact with. And just be blessed. Have a wonderful day.